Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm always chuckling when the people struggle with my name because when I got married, only at the age of 40, I decided I will make it more Afrikaans and make it Wannberg so that people won't struggle. The surname is actually originating from Sweden, where my husband comes from, so it's actually Wannberg. And if you translate that directly, it's Waterberg. Okay. So Willemien Wannberg, I am the Deputy Director for Curriculum Research and Development at the National Institute for Educational Development in Okahania. I'm one of the directorates of the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture. I just want to give people there the chance to put on the presentation. The folder is digital skills and then digital literacy, the one that says final. I think I can start talking anyway. Are you fine there?
Yeah.
Okay. Some of the statistics are from last year and the year before because sometimes the real stats takes a bit of time to reach us. I think the distance between Windhoek and Okahania is a bit big. Luckily for technology, it does reach us. Thank you. You can go to the next slide. If I give you a bit of basic stats on you can go to the next slide. On the education, I'm looking at this. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Oh, okay. We have, and this is from 2022, 1,954 schools. That's now at all levels, from pre-primary to grade 12. Primary 1,060, combined school 664, senior secondary 230. Our teachers, close to 31,000 learners, I think is already higher than the 860,300 that's indicated there. Oh, wrong side, sorry. Then, if we look at now the digital side, total of 1,265 schools are connected to internet using either Wi-Fi 3G cable. Now, and 691 are not connected. Now this sounds quite okay if you look at the numbers. But the reality on the ground is that of that 1,265 that are so-called connected, sometimes it means just a computer for administration purposes in the school, which stands either in the secretary or in the principal's office. That's the sad reality. It doesn't serve the purpose of really educating our learners and giving them the opportunity to access information, or the teachers. It looks like it is more if we look at the figures, the rural schools that are suffering the most. I don't think it is rocket science to make that conclusion. There are 257 schools who doesn't even have electricity. So now you see already the problem. What do? How do you let the computers run? So now we start with generators, and we start with diesel for the generators, and everything has a cost implication. There are, however, 1,697 schools who has electricity. So if we can get connectivity to all of them, then we will go ahead. There are community learning development centers. Now you will see again the stats there. 14, one in each region. Community, library and development centers. They have Wi-Fi connectivity. 9 are connected, 5 doesn't even have connectivity. Now, this is now the centers where our communities should have access to computers and digital information. If we look at teachers' resource centers, our teachers who are the custodians of our children there at school, 25 across the regions, 15 have no computers, 6 have old computers, and 4 have 4 to 5 good computers. That's now in their language. The connectivity 3 has fast, 3 have fast connectivity, 3 good, 11 standard, whatever that means, and 8 is bad. Now people, if you see this, you already realize there's a problem. So although we make good strides in some areas, there's lots of concerns here. And last year with the Transforming Education Summit and before that, the regional consultations that we did, we've really gathered a lot of information, and this is basically just supporting what is there on the screen. I will talk about the national conference later. Public libraries in Namibia, they're not under schools, it's not school libraries, it's public libraries, but it also falls under our ministry. 67 public libraries, 56 have internet, 11 do not have internet connectivity at all. So the bleak picture goes forward. If we look at our regulatory framework on ICT provision, we are busy revising the ICT policy for education. I think it's called the ICT policy in education, not for education, but okay, never mind the name. There are 5 distinct areas in this policy: investigation and development of appropriate ICT solutions, deployment of ICT, maintenance and support of ICT, ICT literacy, and ICT integration. Also in education, towards education for all, the publication of 1993, which dictated a lot of our efforts in the ministry, if I can say so. Even there, if we say there should be education for all, in this digital era, I don't think we can cut out digital access. As much as we want learners to be in school, the digital side can help if there's not space in schools. Then if we look at our national curriculum for basic education, the one that drew so much fire because people wrongly interpret information, we have 3 subjects that specifically deals with it, but it includes the ability to appropriately choose and correctly use ICT tools according to their purpose. It shows versatility in using hardware, software, and different media. It helps the learners to apply computer health and safety principles, to follow ethical norms when using ICTs, to be able to access, critically evaluate, and use information, to transform information into knowledge, to distinguish between fact and opinion, and then, sorry, the one was cut off there, to communicate effectively using ICTs. Now, as I said, we have 3 subjects. The first one is information and communication, which is a support subject. Now, if we say support subject, it means it doesn't contribute to the learner's promotion to the next grade, but all learners are supposed to take it. Unfortunately, some schools don't even offer it, although it's in the curriculum. And this is for all learners from grade 4 up to grade 12. So, information and communication has 2 components: media and information literacy, which goes a lot into computers if you check it out, and then ICT literacy. In computer science, which is from grade 8 to grade 12, the use of computer systems for productivity in a technology-dependent society, designing and programming of user-friendly computer-based solutions to problems. People nowadays use the term coding, and then they challenge us because we don't have coding in the curriculum. programming and coding is basically the same thing. So yes, it is there in computer science, but the learners don't take computer science for various reasons. Some decide it's too difficult. Some decide in schools that the schools don't have the appropriate teachers, so they don't want to offer it. Some don't have the digital equipment to offer the subjects. There are various reasons, but coding is there, and I'll speak a bit of it later. Then the subject offers practice. In the olden days, when I was young, it was called typing. How to use a word processing program and do office administration with the help of computers. So that is also there. If we look at statistics on the enrollment for these three subjects, information and communication should be taken by all learners from grade 4 to grade 12. That is in the curriculum. Computer science, you will see in junior secondary, I think this was last year's stats, only 5,415 learners took the subject, and in senior secondary, 1,639. Now, I just had the total stats with 800 and something learners. Okay, we didn't have junior secondary separate, but in senior secondary, there are 230 schools, and there are just 1,639 learners that takes the subject. Remember, learners have a lot of choice, especially in senior secondary. It's only English and math at this stage that's compulsory. And then they must have a second language. But the other three subjects, why don't they take the subject? Maybe we have a role to promote these subjects, and we need your help in that. Office practice, 2,946 learners in junior secondary, 1,101 in senior secondary. I more or less blew a gasket with the test consultations when one of the schools where we were hosted in one of the regions, I heard that the school is busy phasing out computer studies. And it was a school with a fully equipped computer lab. Unacceptable, in my opinion. When we look at just a little bit of stats, in 2020 when COVID struck us, we did a quick survey, online survey with teachers to see how ready they are to start using digital learning while we were under lockdowns. And you will see the first question was, do you have access to any of the following technology at home? Mark which are appropriate with a tick. Now remember, at home, because we were locked down. The first, I will read it because I know it's a bit small. A desktop computer, 5.5% of teachers. A laptop, 41.9% of teachers. Almost 50% of teachers, or let's say 40%, has laptops, which they can use. A tablet, 5.5%. Mobile phone, that's our winner now, 94%. Then internet, 34.8%. So although people have these devices, they don't always have internet connectivity. Television, 63%. Radio, 60%. None of the above, only 1.1%. So there are the opportunities to use digital devices in teaching. Then teachers' readiness. We said indicate your level of competency on using the following computer software and applications. And then they had to say excellent, good, fair, poor, or none. And now it cut off there. But okay, I think what speaks there is the red column. Because the red column says good. And that is the highest for all of those devices. Never mind what they are. So people think they have a good command of the devices that are to their disposal. Let's look at capacity building of teachers. What did we do to capacitate teachers? Now, we look at two areas. The one is ICT literacy, in other words, that they know how to use a computer or a cell phone. And I often ask when people complain that they are not trained, then I say, who of you owns a cell phone or a smartphone? And more or less everybody put up their hands, and I said, okay, how many trainings did you get to use that cell phone? No, nothing. Or I asked my children, or I asked somebody I know, no formal training, but they know how to use a smartphone. But they complain about not, or use it as an excuse, let me put it that way, for not using computers because they were not trained. Now my question is, where is the phone so much different? And I look at my 11-year-old godchild, when she comes to us, she's immediately on the computer. And she helps herself. The other day she was telling me, Oma, I'm learning French now. I said, French? Where on earth do you learn French? No, Oma, I Googled it. I'm learning French. She's 11 years old. She's schooling in 5 Rand school, primary school in Okanya. So she comes from a disadvantaged community. But she can help herself in the basics on a computer without any training. So it just makes you think. But let us look. We talk about ICT literacy, and then we talk about ICT integration. In other words, how do you use ICT in your teaching? Okay? So, capacity building on ICT literacy and integration for teachers, HODs, principals, and education officers by the ministry. That was done, or is being done, I should say, at MICT. Unfortunately, our ICT integration senior education officer left us beginning of the year. He was poached by UNAM. So at the moment, that post is vacant, which is a very big concern for us. But the good news is we have a development partner from Interteam who is helping us with that training in the meantime. We focus on the use of Microsoft 365 because all schools can have a license for 365, the ministry obtained it. Basic ICT literacy, very basic. Then we look at School Link, which is a school administration system, elements of digital citizenship, and then UNESCO ICT competency framework for teachers was established, the innovative teaching and learning, and then creation of community of practice. Those are how we try to empower teachers. Sorry, I need to rush. Other initiatives, teachers and education officers were trained on e-learning content development through the ministry and NAMCOR. I think some of you might know about NotesMaster, which is the platform that NAMCOR uses. The good news also that we got access to NotesMaster, and we will start next week is the training workshop for the teachers that will be involved to develop content for senior primary, because we found that's the most neglected phase in the school system in terms of digital learning. So training of teachers during Africa Code Week with UNESCO, availability of Microsoft 365, I said that already, for education licenses for all schools. Plans to strengthen coding in the school curriculum. We are busy to negotiate with UNESCO to help us with a consultancy and see if we can bring in a bit of basic coding also in IC so that it's compulsory for all learners and not just in computer science, which is a choice subject. The GIGA project by the Ministry of ICT, where they help us with the connectivity and where we map out the connectivity status of schools. Then I already talked about NotesMaster. Then Kupano is another platform where teachers can collaborate. So teachers of the same subject can talk to each other. And then I must say, having said that, we have lots of WhatsApp groups at NIET for the different subjects, with a subject official where they can communicate to teachers and help them solve their problems. At the National Education Conference last year, I want to skip the first one and just go to the recommendations. Infrastructure, the connectivity tools and equipment, digital competencies, pedagogy, affordable data, high quality and free e-learning content were of the areas that were discussed and targeted with recommendations. Key challenges, I don't think I need to tell you because you heard it already. Limited budget, we struggle to get enough devices and some of those that we have is outdated. Digital literacy, as I said, the people that want to be trained. Safety and security, very important. We can't expose our learners to all kinds of thingies that are on internet that they shouldn't have access to, and it's not so easy to always control what the learners have access to. Awareness and resistance to change. People are not always aware of what is there and what is done, but there's also a very big resistance to change, especially under the age group where I fall. One of the officials one day straightforwardly said to me, I have a few years till retirement, why must I learn these things now? And I looked at him and I said, well, I'm older than you and I've learned it. 20 years ago, when I started working in a particular region, I have never been on internet and I couldn't send an email. I haven't sent an email before, I think once with help. And I came into an office where the director said, I want your month-end report in my inbox on the last day of the month. I don't accept hard copies. I didn't even have a computer in my office up to October that year. I started January. But I made sure he had it. So, yes, sometimes we must take up the challenge, even if you're close to retirement like myself. But awareness and resistance to change, I said, inclusive access to digital learning opportunities, especially for learners with special needs and disabilities. That is still a challenge for us. Finalization of the education sector ICT policy, we are close to finalizing it. The next step is regional consultations again. Then data costs, and which is currently quite high and often unaffordable to people. Learners have access to their parents' cell phones, but the data costs. So that's normally the hampering factor. Then NDP 5, that also highlighted some of the challenges. I'm not going to do on that because it's not necessarily Ministry of Basic Education. And with that, I thank you with a nice group of MICT officials who takes up the challenge, and that photo was obviously taken in COVID time. They all were wearing their masks very, very consistently. They were very scared to get sick. Luckily, when we walk out of our offices, we're out in the open air, so we